You refer to we, I thought, my internal voice trembling. Who exactly is this we? We are kin from Morlan, Kaxulk replied. Our outpost lies within your skies and oceans, yet our true origin is another layer of reality. There exist firmaments without end, and worlds more numerous than grains of sand on all your shores. Know this, Bellatrix, life is everywhere. We are not here to conquer, but to build a bridge. Your people are not alone. Your growth has been watched since its beginning by a great brotherhood of stars. Kaxulk's voice gained a final, keen sharpness. The orb, the searching flame, is an instrument of purpose. It was sent to weigh the light of your spirit and the colors of your soul. It has traced the journey of your essence through its many lives. The wisdom written there confirms you are suited for the task ahead. Therefore, I propose a journey. We must venture into the sunless areas, into the black rain. It is a domain for which you are unprepared, but others of your kind, those with the waking sight, will be there to assist. When, I thought, tonight after your body has found sleep, we shall pull your spirit shadow forth. Take comfort. No time has passed in your world since you saw the orb at the woodpile. We have held the moment still for this conversation. A sudden, sharp intake of cold, dusty air was the first sensation. My spirit slammed back into my flesh with the jarring force of a dropped stone. One moment, I was floating in the cold dream well. The next, I was paralyzed in the midday sun, bent over the woodpile. The heavy piece of oak was clutched firmly in my hand, its bark a reassurance of the solid world. The courtyard was just as I had left it. No maids had passed. Not a single mote of dust had shifted. The world had not aged a single breath. I stared at my hands, the same hands accustomed to scrubbing stone, and a sense of peace blossomed in my chest. If the soul is so vast, I wondered, why was I born to servitude? I needed to ask Kaxulk. He seemed to know all things. I moved with the calm haste of a sleepwalker toward my stone cell, reaching the landing without being seen. I slammed the wooden bolt home. I pulled a scrap of leather and sharpened charcoal from my chest, writing rapid, concise phrases before the particulars could evaporate. I sketched the vision, the giant, the void, and the mission. I rolled the leather tightly and tucked it deep inside my chest beneath a spare tunic. Safe. Hidden. Only then did I feel the hollow craving of the bone. I unlocked the door and descended toward the kitchens. Lillian's, the castle's cook, was there, supervising the ovens with a fierce eye. Her apron was dusted with flour, and her face was flushed from the heat of the fires. As I entered, the rhythmic chopping of knives on wooden boards skipped a beat. A group of scullery maids huddled by the washtubs, their voices dropping into sharp, jagged murmurs. "Bellatrix," the cook called, "come and sit. You look drawn." She bustled over with a bowl of lentil soup and a piece of morning bread. "Sea air fills a soul but empties a belly. Did you find the quiet you were seeking?" I took a sip of the warm soup. "Yes, Lillian's. It was peaceful." She nodded, her smile strained. "Peaceful? The Lord be praised. There's little peace inside these walls. The king suffers from nightmares. It's whispered he's gone almost mad. No healer can find the root of his trouble. It's been a score of winters since the queen was taken from us. Since that day, he's grown worse and worse." "I haven't seen him for more than a full turn of the moon," I admitted, lowering my voice until it was barely a breath. "I know his healer maid, Mistress Dana has been run off her feet. I only see her when she bolts into the kitchen for hot water in the deep night." "Busy is hardly the word for it," Lillian scoffed, her whisper sharp with worry. "She barely closes her eyes, poor soul. The master of the household is looking to hire another pair of hands to ease her watch. But Dana is. She trusts no one near the king. And you see why, don't you? That rot don't just happen. It clings to him because he's been choked by those fell light skirts. Crept in one by one, they did, like a slow, creeping curse. That's the truth of it. Mark me well. I listened, letting her stream of familiar whispers wash over me. It was steadying, a heavy, comforting blanket of noise and the common way. A cold, gravelly voice cut through the clamour of the pots and pans. The steward had entered the kitchen. He stood just inside the door, his face set in a mask of measured disapproval. "Lillian's! Bellatrix!" he barked, his gaze sharp enough to draw blood. "What's this idleness, sitting at your ease while the king's pot stays cold? Out! The courtyard won't tend itself, and the sun doesn't wait on your leisure. Give me a reckoning for this sloth at once." Both of us rose in haste. I slipped quickly past the edge of the steward's vision, melting into the shadows of the nearest passage. I ascended to my small cell, bolted the door, and worked with fierce, silent stillness. There was no time for questions, only for the work. I doffed my rough tunic, washed away the day's grime, and retrieved a piece of cloth. I sat on the cot, mending a tear in the fabric, allowing the rhythmic motion to steady my nerves. My mind circled back to the cook's gossip, a score of winters since the Queen passed. It was the 7th summer of King Dario III's reign when I was brought to the castle, a babe in arms, or such is the tale told by the castle folk. The Queen's death, the King's decline, and my own arrival were bound together, the first threads of the 20-year shadow. I set the mending aside. I needed to be clean. I needed to be still. I allowed my trepidations to yield to the subtle, mighty silence commanded by Kaxulk. I lay on the cot, sinking into a deep unburdening of my flesh until I felt weightless. I was neither sleeping nor fully awake when the world turned. A tremendous pressure settled over my stone cell. My skin felt the weight of heavy, purposeful thought. My essence screamed a warning. An unseen defense is here. I sensed a low thrum at the door, a barrier of pure thought that only a mind like Kaxulk's could weave. Then, Kaxulk's voice bloomed in the deepest sanctuary of my mind. It was not a sound, but a direct inpouring of his resolve, as if a sacred scroll were being unrolled behind my eyes. This scrutiny is total. The presence of these wardens ensures that every unfleshed spirit is discerned by its thrum before it is granted passage. This is the law. Many cunning shades would seek to undo the concord we have established within these walls. This ordinance is preeminent. It prevents entities from the nether depths, the shadows, from interfering in your mortal life. Such interference would bring peril to our common cause. The thought transmission shifted, growing warmer. Our immediate duty is to fortify your protection. You are a critical fellow in these works, Bellatrix, even as you face the trials ordained to achieve equanimity. I felt a surge of ghostly heat at the soul core. It was a twofold blow, quickening my inner sight while bracing my spirit for what was to come. Then, with a terrible, silent wrench, my unfleshed essence was forcibly cast from its house of clay. The shock was immense. I was profoundly disoriented, staring down at my own body, resting on the cot below. Yet the resolve Kaxulk had poured into me took hold. Within moments the chamber was clear. I perceived the figures of Master Diego and Donna Iz standing nearby. They were not in their forms of flesh and bone, but in composed, luminous visages of light. I glanced toward the center of the cell, seeking Kaxulk. His thought voice answered my confusion. "Bellatrix, these two have served King Dario III for a lifetime. Their loyalty is undeniable. They have rigorously attuned their inner thrums to match our own. They are much where they must be." A new presence stepped forward. "I shall not join this sojourn," Kaxulk's thought continued. Brennan will render assistance. His knowledge of the unseen reach and the shadowed path is greater than any in our circle. He departed the world of the living long ago. I turned to look at Brennan. His gaze held an awareness far too deep for a stranger. I began to form the thought, "Oh, you are dead. Do we know each other? You look very familiar." Brennan did not let me finish. His thought cut through mine, clear and strangely melodic. Master Diego and Dana Iz exchanged a knowing glance. Then the steward's etheric visage projected a command. Time to go. We four, Diego, Dana Iz, Brennan and I, passed beyond the verge of the castle grounds. Immediately I saw them. Organized patrolling entities. At every vantage, groups of spirits stood like sentinels. They acknowledged Brennan with profound respect. A tally of truth immediately settled my inquiries, answering the unspoken questions of the group. These are the Guardians. They take orders directly from the higher plane. They function much like the Watch who patrol your mortal streets, but their vigil is for influences the living never perceive. They keep watch for the mind leeches that attach to the living, mental parasites that operate unseen by their hosts, becoming visible only from this high view. Master Diego's thought cleft the silence. I had deemed the Guardians but watchers of other spirits. I never fathomed they stood as wardens over the mind-weavings of men. Brennan's response was swift and clearing. The deep craft of their vigil is far more demanding than a soul might fathom. Many mind shadows, born of both the living and the unfleshed, pose a fell danger.